I mean, what is heckling like at a sex toy party? I wonder. That's like, how do you deal with a
Oh,
heckler
that's
there?
usually just the drunk girl that has trauma. They
Yeah.
need the most help.
Next time, give it loud everybody for Anthony Eugenio. We're gonna have next time. Very funny. Wayne Russell, everybody.
Welcome to the Open Mic Pain with Anthony and Wayne podcast.
Why, hello, everybody, and welcome to an Open Mic Pain with Anthony and Wayne. And we're here with a special edition. We are here with somebody that we've never had this category of person on before, which is a booker, which we're really excited about because we want to illuminate a little bit of how to not send your tape directly into the black hole of Mount Doom, how to actually get your tape in a position where somebody might actually want to look at it. So maybe we want the opinion if someone's going to do that. And we couldn't think, for the first time, of a better person to have on than Alana Foden, who is the owner of Comedy on Purpose, and they do shows at SoHo Bistro. Or is it Bistro? Am I saying that right? Are they Bistro?
Soho Asian restaurant, and I do think it's bistro in the name, yeah.
Oh, well,
Or
there you go.
bar. No, sorry.
Oh,
Asian
bar.
restaurant and bar.
Even better comics. Come
More,
on. How
more
do we
money.
not go to that show? Well, let me stop being rude and ask you how you doing. How you doing?
I'm doing really great. I feel good.
Well, definitely. You sound good. You look good. You feel good. This is going to be a fantastic podcast. But like a dark cloud over Mount Doom, we have Sauron himself, Wayne Russell. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, it was a good one. I'm doing pretty good. Really excited. Thanks for coming on, Lana. This is awesome.
It's my pleasure. I'm happy to do it.
So now that Anthony has all the niceties towards you and the norm towards me out of the way, let's get into it. So one of the first things we always ask people is, how did you get into comedy?
Oh, it was always my dream. I always wanted to be a comedian. I wanted to be an actress when I was younger, but my brothers told me I wasn't pretty enough, so I set my sights lower and decided that I'd like to be a comedian. In my family, whenever there was an issue or a problem, if you could distract with humor, it fixed a lot of things. So I learned that really young. Love writing, love reading, and it was a certain point in my life where I was like, I'm not happy with where I am. I want to get back to my dreams. I had a kind of like life-changing event happen to me, and I decided to face the fear and do it anyways. So even though it terrifies me, like even now doing comedy and public speaking, and even this, like my heart is beating, because I have stage fright wicked, and that's something that I had to like deal with. I decided to pursue it anyways, and so I started by talking with my family and friends and letting everybody know this is my intention, and like I set my intention that I'm going to be a comedian. This is going to happen now, and I got invited to a party. It was a sex toy party. And basically, if you brought a friend, you got a free sample of lube. So I was the friend of a friend, but I thought it was home interiors. I don't know. So I was horrified when they started passing around dildos. I was like, oh my God, this woman's amazing. She's like so brave and so confident in saying penis, vagina, and anus, and the words were just flowing off her lips. And I thought, my God, if I could do this and practice in small parties, in small groups, I could become a comedian. I could get over my fear. And yeah, I was very drunk at the time, and I mentioned the whole idea to my therapist, and they thought it was a bad idea. So I fired him, and I signed up for sex toys. And that was in 2003. And at my parties, I would, I started, because I was so afraid, I did my demonstration actually on my knees, like in service to, like I had to be like below everybody. And then I progressed up to a chair, and I would do my demonstration from a chair. And then like my fifth party, I stood up for a little while, and then luckily my brain didn't sit down for the whole time. And I got through it. I made really great money. Like it was just the time in 2003. There was a survey done that something like 23% of women would admit to owning a sex toy, and in 2003 it was like 87% proudly proclaim, and I feel like I was that change. I took a comedy class that got me like really into it. I practiced on everybody. My kids were young. I had 3 young kids, and I would take them to the park, and then I would just meet a stranger and then just be like, I'm trying to be a comedian. Do you mind if I practice on you? And then I would practice my comedy on complete strangers because you're
That's
gonna
like some
be honest
Dave
with
Chappelle
yourself.
shit.
Yeah, and
That's awesome.
going to Boston was hard because I had 3 young kids. My son was still like breastfeeding at the time when I started, and to go into Boston, pay for parking, and like leave my 3 kids was a lot. And then when I got to Boston, not to knock the Boston comedy scene, but fuck the I'm sorry, I was probably not supposed to swear, but
You
the
can
Boston
so please
comedy
more
Oh
scene
about
I
God.
found,
Yeah, no,
yeah, to
please
be
let it
very
rip.
kind of like a black dark business where to get 5 minutes of stage time you had to bring 10 people and they had to order a drink and a food item. And that was back, I got to meet Kevin Knox, which was really cool. He hosted the show that I was on at Faneuil Hall. What was that comedy room called?
Stitches?
Comedy Connection.
Oh, comedy.
So I'm grateful for the times that I went into Boston, but what I learned was it was a different kind of almost unfair. Like they would use new comics to come in, you had to bring people, and then you'd bring people and they'd be like, now you have 3 minutes. And you'd be like, are you kidding me? Like how hard I worked, like the material I wrote, I practiced on complete strangers in the park, and I brought 10 freaking people here and you're cutting my time or not giving me time. Did you see I filled that 2 tables? So I decided I was going to do it differently, and I was going to focus on, as a booker, providing the audience. That I would take on a part of the responsibility because the kind of, I don't want to use like cancer, but kind of I knew the end was coming for it because people would become privy and wise to it, that the audience was brought by new comics, and then the new comics are trying to get good, but then they're not good, and then their friends don't want to keep coming and seeing them, so you're kind of like cycling through all these people and you see who sticks. And it's very unfair because how can you know if you're really funny or doing well unless you're in front of an authentic audience? So I saw that one aspect of the business and said, I can do it better and I can do it differently in New Hampshire.
You do that really well. Real quick before we move forward on that, do you mind my asking what company you worked for with
What
the
do you
parties?
mean? For what company I work for? Like
With
in
with
real
the
life?
sex toy parties?
Oh, yeah, I've had a falling out with them, so I'd rather not say.
Okay.
Yeah,
I only ask because my sister used to work.
she probably worked for me.
Oh, there
What's
you
her
go.
name?
Or Nikki. She goes by Nikki.
Yeah,
She's
she
been
may
out
have
for a
been on
while,
my
but it was
team.
around that time she was.
Yeah. I
Well,
was the
here's the-
third in the company to recruit over 100 people.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I treated it like a business. I treated comedy like a business. I'm a goal setter. I'm a list maker. I do a lot of personal growth seminars, like what is your purpose? What do you want to do? And I was lucky and fortunate to discover that my life is supposed to be about love and laughter and bringing people more love and laughter into their lives. In a
Nailed
positive
it for sure. So here's the question: when you started the sex toy party, did you grandfather in that if you bring a person get lube, or did you have a new sales tactic to get the
Oh
people? Like,
yeah,
what did
I
you? What
had a
was your
lot
skill?
like that. Like I carry inventory, so it's instant gratification.
Oh my
So if you pay
goodness!
in cash, you get free samples. And I do party games, and I do it like a comedy show. I was fortunate to be on the cover of the Hippo as the Princess Goddess. Hudson, New Hampshire is very uptight, still probably. And I would wear a wig, a gown, and a crown because my kids were in the public school system. And also I worked in the school system part-time. So, sometimes women would book a party with me and then it'd be like, oh, I can't because your daughter's in my class. And every time I see her, I'm going to think about that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't remember what you buy. Like I sell literally thousands of dollars a month and I don't remember. So I just want you to be happy.
And the most incredible part is that you accidentally went to it. Like you thought you were going to another party, and
Yeah,
then you were like,
and
"I'm really good at this." Yeah, could you imagine the odds of that? Like it's like if I can't even think of a scenario. If I accidentally went and like fell into a Formula One car and then won a race, like wow, this is fantastic. Like
it was
they
like
was
the
just meant to be.
timing. Yeah, it was the timing of it, Anthony. It was like the universe aligned and brought me where I was supposed to be. And I was open and I was ready.
Damn, was
It's
fantastic.
incredible. I love those happy little accidents where you just kind of like that happened with me with DJing. Like, I was a DJ from 16 to like 29 or something like that, and I just went to help. My brother's friend owned a company. I just went to help one day, and I was like, "This is fucking awesome!" And I got really good at it, and then eventually hated it. But
Wayne caused
I
a
did it for a
lot
long
less
time.
pleasure, though. A
It
lot
became
less
work,
pleasure.
right? That's what
That's what it
happened.
was. Yeah, you know what it was I was working a lot on the weekends, so I'd work in the morning and then have a show on Friday night, and then work Saturday morning, have a show on Saturday night, and then work Sunday morning, and then have no time, no free time. So I think that's kind of what turned me off of it. But
Yeah,
it's still fun when
yeah.
I did it.
Yeah, you don't want to give your life to it. You want it to be
Yep.
your fun. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you booked your first show, was it at Soho?
No. So back in the day when I very first started, I wanted a place that I could work locally. And I'm a list maker and I'm an analyzer. I'm really a nerd at heart. I also do spreadsheets. It's ridiculous. So I thought, like, where can I find it locally? So I looked into open mics, and also I didn't like them because they were mimicking a lot of what Boston did, which is what you had to bring, two friends or to get stage time. And then I also found that they put a lot of the same people up every time, anyways. So it was like we were like, we were the sacrificial lambs, and then the other guys kind of got to shine. Either you went on really, really early, or you went on really, really late, and you had to bring people, or everybody didn't have to bring people. So I thought to myself, like, what makes a good show? It starts with the space. You can't have TVs on the wall. You can't have pool tables. You can't be performing next to a dartboard, which I freaking have. We all have. If you've put in your time, you're just like, I don't know. I would console myself with, like, if you were training to be a pilot, when you go to school to be a pilot and learn how to fly, they teach you everything that can go wrong. So when you go to do open mics, you're there for everything that goes wrong. So when all the conditions are right and you're really good, that's when you shine and you hold on to that. My
I've never
first,
thought of it that way, but that's a really good point because that's where all the shitty things happen.
you got to
Yeah,
put
we
in
did
your
a whole
Bottom of
time.
the
year
house and
basically of that. We were just only eating shit at open mics constantly. Like, wow, this comedy really sucks. We just did that for a while, and then we got a couple book shows with a real audience, and it's
So
the
much
mecca.
better.
Yeah, definitely. It really is. Like you said, it's testament to how do you know if your jokes work unless you're in front of people who actually want to laugh at them. Where at open mics, we're all like actively trying not to laugh at each other. Really, so I guess what it comes down to, I don't know why. That's how they
And
are.
no, it's because we're horrible audience members because we're in our head getting ready to perform and, prepping just like you normally would be. That's what I think that's kind of normal. And I mean, there are some comics who are kind of rude and they talk in the back, and I don't think that's right. Or they just don't pay attention, or they don't cheer, or, they bring their friends, but they're allowed, or they don't coach their friends. Like, coach your friends. Like, I know you're only coming to see me and you're going to leave right after my set, but could you not leave right after my set? Could you wait
yeah.
until the last comic and then go? Because that's really rude. But back to your first question, my first room was Fodi's Tavern in Nashua, and I worked the shit out of that room. It had a lot of challenges. They didn't have a roadside sign. The wait staff, I would make coupons. They didn't hand out the coupons. They didn't put it on their menu. They didn't promote it. They had no fucking parking. It was horrible. Oftentimes, I didn't own my own sound then. I recommend if you're looking to book, you got to own your own sound, your light. That was my first major investment in the business. So I had to pay a DJ and sound guy. So often, literally for the first several years of putting on shows, it was funded by me. I paid for it. I made it happen. I have even had to go to the pocket bank to pay out my talent. But I don't go back on what I say I'm going to pay because you guys know it's a small world and it's a small industry, and you got to be straight. You got to be straight up because everyone's going to talk. And the other reason I became a booker and to do the business was I don't know what the numbers are now because I don't venture beyond where I need to be. I like creating my own work because I can control it. And but I found that women were not getting paid. Men were getting paid. Women were getting put on shows to host. Women were getting paid to open, or they weren't getting paid, but they were on a show, but only to host and open, not to feature, not to headline. And even the features and the headliners, and I'm not going to say their names or any of the bookers, they weren't getting paid what the men were getting paid. And I was like, I won't do that. I'm going to pay you the same, whether you have a vagina or a penis. Like, the job is the same. You're getting paid.
It seems like, I mean, obviously we're still new to the scene. This week is going to be our 1 year since our first open
Oh,
mic.
that's awesome.
And but from what I can tell, it looks like there's a lot more emphasis on female comics. Like there's so many really good female comics out there, and they're always out there, like on all the posters. You have Mona, Carolina's out there. We work with Xtina quite a bit. It was pretty funny. But there's just so many of them, and you're seeing them all over the place, and it's really cool because it is. I think with most industries, I feel like it is a male dominated industry. Like there's a lot of male dominated industries in comedy, especially at the higher level. You see mostly middle-aged white men. That's what it is.
Yeah, well, it's
nice
kind
to
of
see
everywhere. Yeah.
Speaking of middle-aged white men, though, what really drew us to your first show that we went to was Andrew McGinnis. Fits that.
Oh, I
definition
love
quite
Andrew.
well.
Yeah.
Yes, we do too, and we were so pumped that you had him on because this is so. We'll give you from our perspective now because you've been in the game a long time and you've been a booker, so I'm sure a newer mic perspective is something that's interesting to you. And for us, we never know whether or not we should even send tape into certain booking places because you see like this is going to come with lunch and there's going to be X 3 comedians that you see on their flyers every time, and those comedians are older, and you're like, are we even ever going to be on these shows? And when you see Andrew McGinnis, doing a show, he's so good, and you know that it's a fantastic booker. If they see through this guy's just doing the same people every single time. Like he's definitely unique and awesome and all that stuff. So that's one where we were like, we have to go see that show because we know we got a real booker here.
That was so awesome of you guys to come.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. There was another thing too. A lot of times when you go out there and you know there's somebody booking shows out there, sometimes it can get a little nerve wracking. You don't want to put a bad impression or anything. Like I say, you squashed that immediately. I sat down, you came over, you started talking to me, found out I was a comic, and just you made it so easy to just talk. It wasn't
I'm so glad.
you know what I mean? So
thanks.
I want to give you props on that.
Oh,
But,
thanks.
yeah,
Well,
We're
I
usually
love
much
it.
meaner. We gotta be meaner, Wayne. What do we I want to figure this out.
No, I love it, and I love that room. So that room, before COVID, I had 7 rooms. I ran 2 nights on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday, 2 on up to 3 on Thursday, once a month. So I had 5 to 7 shows I was running every week. And I would say I miss it a little bit. I miss it a lot. COVID put me out of business 2 ways sideways. Parties, lost that income. When the comics started canceling, I'm like, I need to pay attention. And I literally had all my shows cancel. The first week of March, 2020. And I had to find something else, and there was nothing else. And it made me so sad. And I'm so glad that it's coming back. Mm-hmm. And all of those venues that I had only one restaurant survived, and that was SoHo. I did Fodies for years and years and years, and then when I would say I hit my comedy peak, when I was running all those rooms, I had to let something go, and that room cost me more. So what had happened was I raised my expectations, my compensations, and had to let something go. And at the bottom was the very first room that I had. And it was a hard decision, but kind of almost like an easy decision too, because of all the challenges that were associated with that room. And now I wouldn't go back and do that room, because where we start isn't where we end. And that was my beginning, but it was only the beginning. So if you're looking to be a booker and start doing rooms, things that you want to look for, is this okay to go in this direction with you guys?
Hell yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Bring it
okay,
on.
okay. So look for a roadside sign. And how I found SoHo was they were brand new owners, and they had a roadside sign put in. And I thought, that sign is $1 million. And I had to practice a lot in my head. I'm a very nervous person. I love people, and but confrontation is really hard for me, and conflict, and I avoid it at all costs. And so I had to do a lot of scenarios in my head. I had to practice with my friends, and then I was like, I'm doing this. No, I'm just doing this, and I wasn't dressed right that day. I think my son was in a carrier. Yeah, he was still little. And I went in and I said, I'd like to speak with the manager. And I met with this person, and I said, I do comedy shows. I have a customer base. I have an email base. I treat it like a business. I'll bring you new clientele. The comics more than likely will eat and drink a little bit, and this will be a great business deal. And all I ask is that you put it on your sign. And they said no, and tried to sell me the basement for, I think, $450 to rent it, and then guarantee so many thousands in food or something. And it was really hard for me, but I walked away. And before I walked away, I said, I don't think you realize the opportunity that I'm offering you, and I'm going to keep offering it. But thank you for your time. And I wanted to call the next day, and I wanted to call the next day, but I didn't. And on the third day, they called me and said, we want to meet again, and yes, we want to do comedy shows, and we will put it on the sign. And from the very first show, super success. Pre-COVID, it was downstairs. I gave away tickets 2 for $5, coupons everywhere. I'd leave them everywhere, give them away everywhere. I had parties. I would meet anywhere from 10 to 30 new women over the weekend. Coupon. So 2 for $5. We filled that room, and people asked me, they're like, $2.50, is that really worth a ticket? And I said, well, I could do it for free, but people don't pay attention if they don't pay. Everybody else who didn't have a coupon paid $5, so at least they paid $5. And if anybody was loud or rude, I gave them their $5 back and asked them to leave. Don't be here, because
Thank you for that.
you're taking away from, and that's not fair. That's not fair to the audience. It's not fair to the comics. And originally that was run as a showcase. And so I don't do open mics. I've never done open mics. I think open mics bite because people sign up, or it's the same people. It's not enough control for me. I liked control. I would book 7 to 10 comics, and here's why. 80-20 rule. 20% of the time, they don't show up. And yeah, and and 80% of the time, 20% was why people came, for the talent. And so I would put a feature on, not necessarily a headliner, but someone who's really good, who could do 15 to 20 minutes, working their way up to be feature. They would get paid. No one else got paid. No one else really even got a drink or anything, because the restaurant doesn't give it to me. So I can't give it if I don't have it. And That room I negotiated 15 years ago. So if I was to negotiate a room now, I would do it differently. And you see what they can tolerate. But I met with a venue recently, and I went there on a Sunday, I went there on a Monday, I went there on a Tuesday, I went there on a Wednesday, I went there on a Thursday. I didn't announce myself, but I looked around and I'm like, no. There's too many drunks at the bar. They'll be freaking horrible, and they're regulars, and they'll ruin the show, and it won't be good for anybody. And I don't even want to walk out the door to have a miserable experience. I could.
So that was going to be my next question, actually. So your show that we went to was so successful. I assume you're looking into other venues and stuff to get more shows going.
Absolutely. I would love to, and I would look for that criteria. Roadside sign, and then look inside the space. Is there a place where people can present? You don't necessarily have to have a stage. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you need a center of a room. When I do parties, I'm almost 100% of the time in front of the TV or the fireplace, because that's the center of the room. So look at comedy the same way. You don't want TVs on all around your head. You don't want sports. You don't want news. You don't want that distraction, certainly in the view of where the comics are performing, but you don't want them playing pool either. If you're competing with anything else other than a comedy, that audience is hit or miss. And then you don't even know if your jokes are funny or if your presentation is good. And it's hard to make a recording if you don't have that authenticity and then learn from it.
I was at it was a little slightly off topic, but not really. But I was at a party for a friend of mine over the weekend, and somehow it came up that I had been doing stand-up, and he had family there that I don't even know, and they were like, "Oh, we go to SoHo all the time," and I was like, "You aren't going to believe this shit."
Did they love it?
I was just there. What's that?
Did they love it?
Oh yeah, they love it. They go all. I guess they go all the time. I don't think they go every single month, but I think they go like every other or most of them. But you got a lot of good feedback from them, and they didn't even know that.
I'm so glad.
Oh, look out for emails from me, by the way. Every time I see a place that's remotely fitting your criteria, I'm going to send it to you. I'm excited. How north will you go? New Hampshire seems to...
Yeah,
you
I'll
want
go
to stick in New Hampshire?
45 minutes to put on a show. My full-time job, I work 4 by 10.5-hour days. So I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. But my recent room, which I was so sad to lose it, literally, because I lost it. I lost it to kind of the restaurant industry because... a restaurant can't expect you to keep them afloat and make them, the money every single time. But it was really nice because it was at the beach and it was a friend that I went to high school with. And in fact, he was the DJ for my wedding. So we've known each other for years and years. But it was a business decision and I completely get it. He was like, I can't, keep doing it. And I'm like, it's January. Like it's January. It's going to get better. And you're at the beach. So everybody here is the comics or who the comics brought. You have nobody here except for who the show brought for you, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah, we have that discussion. People will take a drink because there's a drinking game of how often we talk about this. But we get fired up at open, so because obviously we review open mics and all that stuff too. So we're in the pits of hell a lot. Yeah. And the people who don't support the venue when we go to open mics are the people who drive us insane. Like if they don't want to buy, like they said, they get a water at the bar, they stay for one comic and they leave is the bane of our existence because we know that the next level isn't just doing comedy booked. It's when you're there, you're supporting the venue. You're buying food there. You're doing all the things that make it easier for bookers like you to get us more places to get in front of real people. So I think it's important.
Actually, so that's one way of looking at it, Anthony, but how I look at it is it's my responsibility. So remember when we go back to how it was in Boston, where you had to bring the audience if you were new, I decided I'm going to build the audience. How can I do that? And for me, I decided it was networking. So how do they build the audience? I made coupons. I handed them out everywhere. Supermarket, bank, drive-through. Wherever I paid money, my rule of thumb was I'm going to try to make money. So if I spent money at Dunkin' Donuts, you're getting coupons. Wherever I spent money, you're getting coupons. And I go to every single audience member at every single show, and I invite them to join my email. And I build my email list. I use Constant Contact. It's expensive, not gonna lie. I'm looking at other options now because it costs me like $80 a month. But my email base is almost at 4,000 locally. So if I send out an email,
Wow.
it's to a lot of people, and they're all local. And more importantly, some of them have been with me since 2003. So they're my people. They're reading my email. It gives you a report. You can see who's reading your email. You can see, I do a discount on the tickets. If they pre-purchase, they get a discount on the tickets. I have a meetup group. I make sure I know all their names. You can't remember everybody, but your phone can. So I meet somebody, I meet them at a table, I go to a private space, and I make notes for myself so that I remember them the next show if they come. I remember their name, I remember a little bit about them, because the most important thing is that people feel special and remembered.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to feel that way because I love them, and I can't put on great shows without them. So I made it my responsibility to build my customer base so that my shows would be successful. So even when they were small and I didn't make the money to pay everybody and I had to go to St. Mary's Bank across the street and take it out to pay everybody, they still had a great show and a great experience. Hopefully they told somebody, and there was never any I don't pay. I always pay.
So what do you, when people send you material to look over, what are the things that you look for in order to move them to the top of the pile? I know you give a lot of people opportunity, especially in your comics, which is fantastic, but when you're trying to really narrow it down and get somebody good for it, what are you looking for in the tape?
Oh, that's a good question, Anthony, and I've taken a lot of criticism for that. In that, I wish I could give more opportunity to new comics. I'd like to have another room so that I could do it, because I would do the showcase shows, where it's pre-booked, it's pre-planned. There's 3 new, there's 3 experienced, there's 3 intermediate, and there's 1 fantastic. And only 7 show up, 7 to 8, but you book 10. When people email me, I think it's wonderful. If they send a video, I do try to watch it. I think just that they emailed me and sent me a video is huge, because I remember how many years it took just to get a video. Like, just to get a video that I was okay with it and to send it to somebody else. That's a huge commitment, so I take that into account. The criticism I get from other comics or other bookers is they're like, why are you putting new people on your show? And where else are you going to get the practice? Where else are you going to get better? Where else are you going to get a chance? And like, if I didn't put Drew Dunn on, then I wouldn't know Drew Dunn now. Like, like.
I was just going to say that you give somebody, like, let's say Louis C.K. was coming through, starting out, and you gave him a shot. Well, he's going to remember that. And down the line, you're going to have that big name that's going to remember you. And, hey, maybe you can get him down the line somewhere else. It's a two-way street.
It is, Wayne. And what we do unto others, they do unto us. And what we wish for others, they wish for us. We are more connected than we know. We are the mighty oak trees.
The only other, I don't want to say the only other, but one of the other local people that I've seen do that and really give a shot to new comics is Greg Bogus. Do you know him?
Love him. Oh my God, he was just over for breakfast this morning. This is so funny.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know he does that at the Luna as well. He likes to do similar to what you said, to somebody who's brand new, somebody who's a little bit more.
Yeah, Delusional's great at that too. The Delusional comedy, they do stuff around. They get the newer comics on, so it's always
it's so true.
It's getting better.
Yeah, and
I just finished my latest tape, and I did it. I told Wayne when I was making it, because he's like, "Oh, I sent Alana tape. Are you gonna send some?" And I was like, "I'm making a fresh one from a good show."
I love that. I love that.
So look out.
That's the funny thing about tape. Like you said, it takes so long to get one that you're like proud of.
It's an investment.
Me and Anthony are the opposite. When we first started out, I was like, I'm not telling anybody I do this, but I recorded my first set and then I sent it to everybody. Like, look what I did. I was so excited.
Oh man!
And now I'm
Seriously.
like cringe. I'm like, oh. And then
I know. Yeah.
I mean, I was still proud of it. It was something that I wanted to do for 20 something years. Finally got up and did it. I was proud of it. But
That's
now I'm
exactly,
like, I would
yeah.
never show any of that's never going to see the light of day.
Yeah.
Well,
It
it
took
might.
me forever.
But we've talked about maybe doing an episode listening to our first sets and just really going into them and laughing at them and how bad they are. But I think
Yeah, I
it'd be
got an idea where we got to get a contest going, and maybe you can judge it, Alana. We'll do something that will involve expert judges, where the loser has to send their first set to every booker that we got in our Rolodex. We'll see how booked we get after that.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
I think it's a good idea. I think, have you guys ever heard of PMOC, preferred mode of communication? So each booker is different. Find out the way, maybe they're a texter, maybe they're email, maybe they're Facebook, maybe they're one of the other social media platforms, but there is a way that every single person has a preferred mode of communication. Find out what that is, and then that's how you reach out to them.
And
And
email's yours.
some bookers I see, they just book the same people over and over again, and they kind of cycle through them, and then they let somebody new in. And to me, that's kind of old way thinking. That's kind of what Boston was turning into. And it's great that we have all the greats, but you also need to have new, otherwise it's the same stew.
That's true. That's
Has that ever bitten you before? Have you ever booked a show and then had somebody like, I'll give this guy a shot or this person a shot, and they go up and it's just complete like horror show, like, oh my God, like get off the
Oh
stage
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Pull the
I
fire
had
alarm.
a show
Like,
like that, and it was my own kind of fault. Like I don't want to say it was my own fault, but it was like I had booked one headliner and he referred somebody else, and in my defense, my dad had just died, so I didn't do my research. I didn't do anything, and this guy went on, and it was so bad. It was I refunded tickets.
oh my God.
He ended on literally, he was my headliner, mind you, which for at SoHo, I pay a minimum of $200 on a Thursday night to my headliner. And so I paid him the money, but boy, I didn't want to. He ended on a shitty dick joke, literally with blood and shit and dick in it. That was his closing joke.
Unholy Trinity.
And he was the referred headliner, and now that other headliner, like, I won't book you either. Like, you you put me in the muck mire. But
Yeah, that's gotta be
I got
horrifying.
12. The other comics were good, and I had to do refunds. Yeah.
That's rough. That's gonna be absolutely horrifying.
It was,
Yeah,
just
it's a
couldn't
tough
come
game.
off the stage fast enough.
Because there are some comics that will do shows with that could clear a room immediately when they go on there half the time, and then the other half they catch this weird in a trash can type of energy where they blow the room down, and it's so
Yeah.
subjectively weird how that works from place to place and how that goes. And I really like. I admire the super blue comedian that burns the house down sometimes by accident, but sometimes finds that stuff. It's such I couldn't imagine living in that world all the time. Such
I
a
don't know.
Booker
I mean,
nightmare.
I obviously crushed and crashed and burned, and I remember on the ride home thinking, why didn't they like me? You know?
Preaching to the choir
And
there.
then you listen to your set, and then you can't go to sleep, and then you live it over and over and over again. And then when it's really great, you listen to your set, and you live it over and over and over again. And that's why we keep doing it. That's why we keep doing it.
Yeah, we live in our last set. We say that all the time because, like for instance, Wayne last week had one set that he didn't at a show that he didn't think was fantastic, and he was just a bitch all weekend about it. And I was like, Wayne, we got another show on Monday. We're gonna be fine.
He's
And
not
You
then
gotta
gonna
brush
Monday-
it off like dirt.
Yeah,
And,
definitely.
You gotta
He
brush
had a
it
great
off like
set
dirt.
Monday.
And when it's
That's it.
good, you gotta suck it up like air.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
He did great afterwards.
Yeah, Monday went pretty good. I needed that. But Play with
I
that
needed
issue.
that. Well, I have never said I needed that in my entire life till I started doing comedy. Is when you have that, you probably haven't experienced this in a long time, but we still eat bowls of shit all the time when we go out and do this. And sometimes we'll do like 5 in a row bad, and then we always say when we do a good one, "Oh, I needed that," because we feel like we're one day away from quitting every week.
Anthony, so I stopped doing that. I get you, and I had those, but it's the same as paying your dues. It's the
Yep.
you learn to fly the plane is easy. When shit goes down and an engine fails, that's it. So we practice, but we put it in. But I've eaten the shit. And same thing with parties. I'd have it times 2. I'd do 4 parties a week, run these comedy shows, and I'd come home from there was one. I would carry a taser on me. I would go into such awful places. And there was only one time I felt truly afraid, and I got in my car and I was like, I'm okay. I'm okay. But I have my
I could
taser.
not imagine
Thank
bombing at a
God,
sex toy party. That'd be tough.
And it would be like, I made no money. They're all like, can I order it now and pay you when it comes in? Or at a comedy show, there's 3 people in the audience and one guy's drunk and he's getting more attention than you are.
Oh man, what is heckling like at a sex toy party? I wonder. That's like, how do you deal with a heckler
that's
there?
usually just the drunk girl that has trauma. They need the most help. I make them be my volunteer, or I'd call them my bin bitch, and just be like, if you do this for me, I'm going to give you a super huge discount at the end. But almost always the heckler is dealing with something. They're on their own ride. There's something not right. There's something unhappy. And you just have to treat them soft. And what doing parties gave me the ability of, and having 3 teenagers at once, is I can just tune it all out and keep doing my set. I just keep doing my set, keep doing my material. One of the things I learned is presentation, how to present. So if half the audience is listening to you, literally turn your back on the ones who aren't and face the ones who are paying attention and give them your attention. And the ones who are not, you can cut. I literally just tune them out and I don't give them attention. I disregard. And I'm fortunate that I have the ability that I don't lose my train of thought and I can keep going. When I first started, my brain, my heart would pound in my chest and I couldn't breathe right, and then so I'm not getting enough oxygen. So if you interrupt me, I gotta start again. Now we're back at the beginning because I don't remember where I was. And
That's really a skill.
Years. Yeah,
to try to turn your back on the people that aren't giving you attention. I think a lot of comics just crave attention. So to say no, I don't need you.
Don't focus on the ones who aren't focused on you. You're doing a disservice to the ones who are there for the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Man, this is good stuff here.
Sorry.
Wayne isn't either.
Just leave. Goodbye. Go.
Wayne once tried his hand at some crowd work, and it included a heckler, and it was fantastic because he's like, you think it'd be funny to ask if anybody in the crowd believed in flat Earth and then call them a stupid idiot if they do? And I was like, I don't know, man. That's bold. You give it a shot. And this guy heckled Wayne, and the guy happened to be a flat earther, and Wayne tore him down.
That's wonderful.
Not really. I didn't.
That's wonderful.
No,
It was
first
wonderful.
of all, he wasn't a heckler. I had a planned line.
You treated him like one.
It was my brother.
It wasn't even funny. I just said, do we have any flat earthers here? And he started clapping. He was the only one. I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, flat earth's real. I was like, come on, man. Use your hands to flip through a science book instead of clapping. And he was like, what the fuck? I was like,
I know.
It's
It was
not even that
one
funny,
of
but
the
he got so mad at me, and I felt so bad after. That's not my thing. I can't make fun of people. I just can't do it.
Yeah,
I don't know. I want them to have a good experience, but I put on shows where literally these guys walked into the room and they'd just come from a funeral and they had their own party So I had to make them leave. And again, I don't like conflict at all, but I will tell people, just tone it down, please be quiet. Like, there's a show happening. Like, if you weren't here for the show, go over there. You know? Yeah, because it's like we do a disservice to the audience and to the comics performing. You guys took time to create this material. You're bringing it forward. You want to present it. And the gift, like, it's a gift, but it's a gift that you have to give away. And then when you give it away and it comes back to you, that's the best of comedy. We call it a tennis game. In doing parties, they used to say that too. You'd hit it over the fence and they'd hit it back with their laughter. And the more they laugh, the better we are. And they laugh again. And the funny we are, the safer we feel, the more we share, the more authentic. And that is the ultimate humor, because when we see each other reflected in each other, that's me.
Beautiful.
It is a good way to look at it. The tennis analogy, like, you're like volleying back and forth. And,
Now, how do you recommend, with that bared in mind? So, one thing that we've noticed so far that we're trying to tailor in on is when we're having a really good set, we notice that we say our jokes are completely given off differently than we normally do. We give a lot more emphasis. We're so much more excited. And we always think, like, man, when we're doing bad sets, if we just performed like we're having a good set, maybe we can turn those around. Is that something that, one, you believe in? Because you were saying you do your set as you normally do, facing away and all that stuff. Do you think the actual performance of it giving energy, like you're in a stadium, if you're on a stage type of effect, is something that people should strive for? Or do you think energy, depending on the crowd, is okay to be subdued if they're subdued and vice versa and all that? Like, how do you approach it?
Oh, it's totally psychosomatic. Like, there's a science behind it. If you smile, even when you're having a bad day, they used to say fake it till you make it, but truly, if you smile, even when you're not happy, your body will start taking on that, and your mind will take on that, and you will feel better. The science I remember reading behind comedy, because again, I'm a nerd, so I read everything in front of me. But I remember reading once, way back when, that you need to have all the elements in place. So remember how I said no distractions, no titties, no pool tables. It comes back to sound, light, show, action. So you want all those things in place. You want good light, you want good sound. You don't necessarily have the stage, but you got to be center of the room. And that laughter ripples backwards. I think one of the advantages I had as a comedian doing home parties was that an audience of 3 women was the same to 300. An audience of 5 people in a room was the same to me to 50 people in a room. So I do make eye contact. I don't hold it for a long period of time. People make them feel awkward, but I don't look over people's heads. I look at them and I try to connect with them. And I read once that laughter is contagious. There's a science to it. People have to hear what you say. They have to hear it. Then they have to digest it. Then they have to assimilate it. And then they can absorb it. And then they can respond. So sometimes there's a delay to that. And in the beginning, I would speak too quickly, because that's my natural nature, and go too fast, and not give time for the joke to land. And I found now that when I go what is unnaturally slow for me, it's a better result for the audience. Because you don't know if they're under the influence, they have food in their mouth, they're finishing a conversation, they're drunk, they're high. Like, they're still on your last joke. But
Yep.
you keep going. So I hope that answered your question.
The eye contact thing makes a lot of sense. I've been playing a lot with that during certain jokes. I'm kind of working on one now that can kind of come off as misogynistic until the punchline. The punchline just turns it around. But I found I was losing people when I start the joke because they were like, "Oh, this guy's an asshole. He's a misogynist." But I started looking. I'd find like a couple girls or women in the audience, and as I was saying the thing that would be misogynistic, I would look at them, and it would kind of force them to look at me and listen to what I was saying, and it kind of drew them in. Then when I got to the punchline, I go, "Oh, okay, I get what he's doing there." But when I was just kind of saying it and just scanning, I was losing people. So yeah, eye contact can really make or break a joke or an interaction.
If they're tuning in, and laughter ripples backwards. That's what I remember. So if you can get the front row, that'll engage the second row and the third row. And if there's too much light in the room, people will look around for permission to laugh, especially if it's an off-color joke or inappropriate. They might look around and be like, are other people laughing? Is this okay? And this is why more babies are made in the dark. You just on where you want people paying attention. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good point. I never thought of it that way.
So light,
looking around for laughter.
Stage. Yeah.
Well, so here's another. So when people open for you or they're on your shows or something like that, do you sit down with them afterwards from time to time to talk about their sets and because you seem very analytical? It seems so beneficial to have someone like you to be like, all right, what the hell did I do there? Help me.
If they wanted, I would absolutely love that. Like, Wayne, I listened to your joke and your set, and right away I came up with a joke that I thought, he could tag this. That would be fantastic. And I'm so sorry that I didn't write it down, but I'll listen again and I'll get it to you.
No worries.
Because I think it would like add to you. And one thing I wrote like early on in the beginning, and I presented for the Boston Comedy Chicks, is like, when it comes to comedy writing, Wayne, you were saying that you had this misogynistic joke that it took the audience a while, but then they would catch it at the end. So if you take that joke and you look at it, that every single word costs you some words are worth like $5, $10, like that's and, if, or, but, why. Unnecessary is worth $0. These are all like unnecessary words. There's $1 million words, there's $100 words, and you take that joke, and it might be 2 sentences long, and you cut it. You say, what word could take over 3 of those words, and I get the same meaning across? And you turn that $100 word into a $1,000 word, and you can rewrite that joke to be short, concise, quick, fast, where you say it, and you wait, they hear it, they assimilate it, they absorb it, and then they respond to it. So I'll bet you anything, and I've listened to tapes of myself in the past that I thought were really great. Like, I submitted them, and one got entries into the Chicago Funny Women Festival, and now I look at it and I'm like, oh,
Yep.
I could have done this, I could have done that, I added this joke, it's so much better.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the economy of words. Anthony talks about that all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, that's such a good rule to go by. Sometimes less, a lot of times less is more.
All the time.
Yeah, it's a rule that I have for most of my writing is my premises are usually down to a single sentence, and then I will build it like word for, like, I will start where it's like, this doesn't even make sense if they're not, like, this is the minimum amount of words I can get this thought across, and then I'll add just word at a time, only based on what helps it. Because I realized that I would do a 3-minute joke that was a minute joke, and I'm like, I am just wasting time with setup here. And we're near Boston. It is what it is. We're at the place where people don't have patience for that kind of shit. Like, if we were in Ohio,
they get their
maybe.
Phones, they get their drugs, they have their day that they're dealing with, they have their friend. You don't know what's going on in their head, and you have to grasp all of their attention. And if not their attention, the person near them. Because if they see that you get the attention of most everybody else, they're like, what am I missing? It's FOMO now.
That's an interesting thing I just thought of. So you've been doing comedy for 20 years, right? You said 2003, was it?
21 now, yeah.
21, yeah. Okay. So how are the rooms different? How were they different back then where, cell phones were around, but they weren't, like, you didn't have Facebook on your phone. It was a flip phone or, an alias, whatever you could flip up and text on. And the rooms must have been so much more attentive back then.
So back then, I didn't use an app to email everybody, but I still harvested emails because I wanted to be in business forever and for life. So um, I harvest emails. I called it cross-pollinating. So at my comedy shows, I would promote my sex toy parties, and at my sex toy parties, I would promote my comedy. So I would kind of get different audiences. People who had never gone to comedy before would go. People who had never had a sex toy party before would book with me, and I would be their first time. Back then, it was emails. Now, like, I have constant contact. That costs me $79 a month every month. And MailChimp is free, but MailChimp, you can't send out 3,800 emails at one time and then get a result, and then send out another email for everybody who didn't open it, or get a report on how many links. I use Square to sell my tickets. Venmo, love Venmo. So I can swipe people's credit cards. Using Square, I get their email, and then I just ask permission to email them. I think too, because I was younger when I started and my audience grew older with me. So I'm fortunate that email is kind of still my main way. My recent comedy room that I started is Stonebridge Country Club, and they're kind of more elite in that I had to carry liability insurance, which I'd been doing comedy all these years, and then there was only a few occasions of fundraisers where I had to get 1 day liability insurance, which is like $100. You can build it into your cost. And these guys were like, no, you need to. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. If the headliner falls off the stage, he's not going to sue me or you because he'll never work again in the industry. Because people hear about it. And that's the truth. But you can't tell people outside of the industry that the reality is we are a smaller world than people know. And we're still, there's still like, I'm just meeting you guys and you've been doing it for a year. So, yeah.
Oh, it opens up fast though. Once you start networking, you like realize like, oh, this person knows that person, and then like I've known Greg Bogus, in passing for months now, and
Oh my God, Greg Bogus story. Greg Bogus ran Fody's Tavern before I ran Fody's Tavern. When I left Fody's Tavern, I contacted Greg, gave it back to Greg. That's the business.
Fantastic. Wow, jeez.
Yeah.
So going back to the like the phone thing, right? So back in like 21 years ago, how was it performing different? Like, do you find that crowds back then were better because they didn't have that distraction, or do you?
No, I mean, I still performed at places where they were like throwing darts near my head.
Yeah.
I performed at
We've always had
places
distractions.
where the sound would kind of crackle out. I dealt with a lot of stage fright. I know a lot of comics don't have that. I'm not sure if I'm an introvert or an extrovert. I haven't really done the study on it, but I just know that my friends would say you're loud and proud in person, and when you put a microphone up to you, you turn into a mouse. Like you become quiet. So I had to learn a lot of technique. I had to take a lot of classes. I'm still going to take classes. I still want to keep learning. I think that when you feel like you've arrived, then you might get stale. You gotta keep growing. You gotta keep writing. You gotta keep performing. You gotta do the shitty rooms. You do. I'm sorry, but you do. It supports the industry, and you can give the feedback. But do it for you. Do it for you. Do it for you to try the new jokes. Do it for you to be like, can I keep going and remember my material when no one is paying attention to me? No one's paying attention, and there's a band in the other room, and everyone's walking out the door, or someone's fighting about their bill. Can I keep going? If you can keep going, like then when everything's just right and the conditions are really good, well, that's your tape set.
It's true. I tell sometimes when it's like a very small crowd, I'll tell them like this does not phase me because we've done comedy to literally negative people. Meaning we've done comedy to so few people that the people who were there didn't even want us to be there. So it was like seeing in front of negative people.
Oh my
So they
gosh,
can't
to be
hurt us.
negative people, that's fantastic. That's so
So we're comfortable.
fabulous. Yeah, and so I have a couple rules too when you perform in my rooms. Like, you can't be disgusting. You can be funny, but you can't be gross. Like that headliner who ended on a shitty dick joke that was bloody. No, you
He
can't come
created a
back.
rule.
You can't come back from that, and I can't ever hire you again because
And people are
what?
eating,
Like,
Yep.
right?
so, okay, when you're new, don't talk about your penis, your shit, your vagina, or your ickiness. It's the effect is, ugh, it's not funny.
I never talk about my vagina. You don't have to
I'm
worry about
so
that with me.
glad.
I don't
Yeah,
think though.
yeah. And talk about things that are relatable to other people, that you discover, that you think about, that you find, and that universal humor. And also, there's different, like the genres. Anthony, you talked about the blue comics, and they're kind of like dark, but they still make it really funny. There's also the play on words. That's like my favorite. That's like when you're talking about baseball, but you're doing innuendos about sex. And the audience is going along for the ride with you because they want to play the game. Play on words is wicked fun. I don't like my comics. I just ask them, don't be disgusting, don't make fun of the audience, don't put them down for being small. They didn't come here expecting to be not enough. Let them be enough. Give them the best show you can possibly give them, because if each of them have a great experience and there's only 10, but they come back with a friend next month, now you got 20. And that's what helps you survive through the summers, is just always bring your best. And don't knock the venue. It's hard. It's a lot of work to keep a relationship with a venue. We need our venues. We need them to be successful. You guys had said it earlier, like, don't just get water. But if you do just get water, because that's what you can afford, fine. But tip your server $1. Like, give your server something so that at least your server is not put out by the comedy show, because you need the support of the servers. The support, it works together. So it'd be over 15 years at SoHo. And when I open the Spectrum, the local Spectrum, she's got a coupon in there and it says Loud and Proud comedy every third Thursday. And that's the best support I could get as a booker, to have the venue partner with me and equally do what I do to make it a success. When you're working alone, it's like making a whirlpool in a swimming pool. You go around, you don't make a current, you go around again. Maybe you feel a little something, third time now you're feeling a current, but 5, 6 times around you got to go alone. You got one
Hmm.
friend with you. One friend, you got a current on your second go around. So
Oh, we're gonna post
we're
like
in
crazy now
business
every time you do a
together,
show. We're
not
in.
alone. Yeah, all of
I was just talking about that with Jacques Lambert also came the same night. I mean, and I know there's a lot of bookers and people doing a lot of things out there. It is hard to promote everything, but I'm really surprised you don't see that more at the venues. Like for us in the open mic world, you would think, every comic wants an audience. You would think that these people would be posting advertisements in more than just the comedy Facebook group. Sure, you
yeah.
want to get comics there too, but get people to come watch. And I'm surprised you don't see that a lot more. You don't walk into a market. I remember when I was a kid walking into Market Basket, they'd have the bulletin board up with all the craft fairs and this and that. I'm surprised you don't see that a lot anymore. You don't see bulletin boards with, hey, there's going to be a comedy show at Soho. Or obviously you do that, but as an example, there's going to
Yeah.
be one here, one there. You don't go places and see that kind of stuff around much. Really surprising.
I think it's honestly, Wayne, because of COVID. Like, you used to have those pull tabs. I used to do that for the parties. I'd go to apartment complexes, get myself in the door, and put it up on their bulletin board, and to get parties. in the beginning, I gave out my card everywhere. I asked everybody to have a party. You have to ask. You have to ask. And so it could be the booker's not asking, but it could also be they take it for granted. How that it's successful, that it's always been successful. Why should I do anything different? And I just think like it comes back to if we're not evolving, if we're not changing with it, like I need to do more in social media. And I know that like I am a little lazy with Constant Contact because it connects to my Facebook and it connects to my Instagram. Do I go on Instagram? No. It's like auto posted and I haven't looked at it in a long time and I feel bad and I hope no one's talking to me there and I'm looking sorry if you are. Because I could do more with it, but back to my PMOC, my preferred mode of communication is text, email, Facebook Messenger, because that's kind of what I started with. And but even when I first started, I remember having new people on my team, and they would text me, and I'm like, this is costing me 10 cents a word, and they want me to freaking take 20 now through text? So I call them and be like, you're costing me money to train you through text, and then I had to change. I had to get a new phone plan. I had to learn that people who were younger than me, that is the way they wanted to communicate. And so I had to shift. And I had to shift. And I find that I still have to shift. Like, I'm looking at Constant Contact and thinking I should probably use Square because everything's all in one place. They can give me a website and they text people. And I think now my hairdresser texts me to send me specials, let me know when there's openings.
It's true.
How
They
cool
do
would
do
it be
that.
to just text 3,800 people and say there's a show tonight and the seats available, and now they're $10 instead of 20 because we got to fill the seats, like, or for the first 10 people to respond, or
Now, do you make flyers for the shows that you have that go out on Constant Contact? What do you use for the
Microsoft
software to do that?
Picture for that. Say again?
You were saying my question. So Microsoft Picture is what you use?
Yeah, I use Microsoft Picture It. I bought that I don't know how many years ago. It's so old.
Nice, works. I use
It
Canva.
works.
I use Canva.
Yeah,
People make fun of me
it
for Canva,
works.
but it's the greatest.
So Canva is good, but don't you have to pay for that?
Yeah, I own a business of teaching people how to grow weed, and so I use Canva to make all my marketing for that. But I also, every time me and Wayne are on a show, I'll try to make a flyer for it or any of that kind of stuff. And it, I think it's like $100 a year, something like that. But oh man, that thing is fantastic.
So that's
Free
worth
flyers
it.
for you anytime you ever want it. If you ever need
Yeah.
one, I will put dragons, anything you need. It actually,
Oh, now I
have to
want to
have
do
dragons.
Canva. Now I want to do Canva. So Picture It, like back in the day, Microsoft Picture It, my mom got me on her discount from like digital, and I think I had to pay like $780 for it. So you
Oh wow,
pay
it's not
like
too bad.
$100 a year, like you got like 8 years. Yeah.
That's like pro too. Yeah, that's the pro
Yeah.
level Canva and all that kind of. But the only thing you have to deal with is when you tell people that use Canva, if they use the one that everybody uses, Photoshop. If they have Photoshop, they will look down on you. So you just have to be okay with them looking down on you real bad. But as long
Why?
as you have that thick skin, you'll be fine. So
Well,
when
I
is
think-
the next show? We'll wrap this sucker up. So when is the next show that you have going on? And let's plug her.
All right, great. So I have SoHo March 21st. That's a Thursday, every third Thursday. We are there. I have Brian Muenzer, who will be headlining, Chris Cameron, who will be featuring, and then I'm so sorry, this gentleman is new to me, but not new to comedy. I've heard his name. So sorry, George Newton. Will be.
Yeah, we just
I think we just
George.
performed with George.
Oh, really? Yeah, so
2
I'm
weeks ago.
excited. I saw a little bit of him, and I'm excited to meet him and get to see his set. And
Very
then
nice guy.
Saturday, March 23rd, I have the Stonebridge Country Club show. That's free in Goffstown, New Hampshire, with dinner. So it's a country club, so if you go in, you buy dinner, have a few drinks. The show is actually free. Normally, these show tickets would cost like $50. I have Sara Poulin is hosting, Nick Gordon is opening. They're out of Maine, wicked funny. and Bill Douglas will be featuring, and Chris Tabb will be headlining. If you haven't had an opportunity to see Chris Tabb, he is a true headliner from start to finish, and very professional to work with. Easy. Just easy. And that's the other thing is like when you're new, be easy. Be easy to work with. Don't be like, who else is on the show? I need a ride. No, I don't know where people live. I can't set you up with a ride. Like I'm doing the show.
Yep.
Be easy, be communicative. If they message you, confirm. Send your headshot. If you have a headshot, get a headshot. If you're new and you really want to go places, get a sound system. Let everybody know you got a sound system. Be a good host first. Become a good host. Become a good opener. Get your first 7 to 10 minutes. 7 to 10 minutes, you can host. 12 to 15, you can host, you can open. If you have your own sound system, you just added a lot of value to yourself, because a booker who has 2 shows in one night and only one sound system will think, who do I know who can host or open and owns their own sound?
Oh, that is such fantastic advice.
I swear I say this in every episode, but I did a hosting class with Mike Katrobis back in the
Love
day,
him.
and it was one of the best things. Yeah, he's so good. But that was one of the best classes I've ever taken. It was 3 hours with a showcase after, and like everything he had to say was so important. Just like everything was like a little nugget of information. I feel like I robbed him at the end of it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, I used to be a musician, and I have a sound system. I never told anybody about that. And I'm like
You need to
staring
tell
at it, and I'm
people.
like, damn it.
I can't believe you teach people how to grow marijuana. I think that's fantastic.
I do, yeah. We should do a half teaching people how to grow weed, half teaching people how to buy sex toy party. Maybe 3-way into it with a comedy into it, and we're gonna have a hell of a day.
Call it
love
bongs and
that.
dongs.
I'm actually going to be taking a sketch writing class with, I want to get his name right, Kevin.
Kevin Haley?
Kevin Haley.
Yes, how the universe
Yeah.
works. So
my man.
he came to
We
the
were
show
there on
with you
Kevin's
guys,
first
right?
set.
So then my job, my day job as office admin, we do community fundraiser events in Pelham, New Hampshire. So this girl opens up the Pelham Evergreen newspaper, and there's Kevin Haley, and I'm like, I'm going to take that sketch writing class because I've been wanting to do sex ed little demo videos with a link to buy my product. It's like passive income, passive sales. I'm passionate about sex. I love it. I think everybody should be having it and enjoying it. And like, you know how McDonald's
Hear that,
has
my
like
wife?
1 billion served? I want to have like 1 billion served, you know?
Since you brought Kevin up, I know he listens, and he also listens on the treadmill.
nice.
So Kevin, bump up that incline, get that speed going. Keep going, buddy.
Yeah, run, bitch, run for your life. We know Kevin's running on the
Supporting
treadmill
it.
right now. That's why he listens
Supporting
to it.
I'll be there for the class. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm a huge believer, and we just got to just keep learning, keep growing, keep on laughing, you know, keep on writing, keep on practicing, keep on performing, and be good to each other, because you don't
Yeah,
know
be-
what people are going through.
That's perfect. That's that. I think we could not end on anything better than that. Be good to each other, and remember that booking, comedy, all that is just another worthy step in the quest for laughs. How about that?
That's
How about that?
100% true. Thanks, Anthony.
Yeah, run, bitch, run for your life. We know Kevin's running on the treadmill right now. That's why he listens to it.